So I remember when I was coming off the heels of UFC Undisputed 3. Like, UFC Undisputed 3 was just one of those games where it really mirrored what I saw UFC to be at that time. You know what I mean? Because I remember when UFC was just starting to get hot. I remember my favorite fighter was Quentin Rampage Jackson. I remember watching him. You know how he used to do the howl at the end. You know what I mean? I remember watching him. I remember watching Chuck Liddell and Rashad Evans and Tito Ortiz. You know, the Liddell Ortiz rivalry and the Rampage Jackson and Evans, and then I think John Jones was just coming in too. Who else? I think Alistair Overeem just started making his way into the ring. Making his way to the octagon. You know, it was a bunch of fighters that came in. I think Brock Lesnar was still there. It was a lot of it was a lot of fighters at that time, and UFC was growing. And I remember UFC Undisputed 3. That game to me was just superior. You know what I mean? Like it really felt like you were really you were really taking control of the fight. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to dive too much into that, but just coming off the heels of that, some time goes on. PS4 is getting ready to drop. UFC 1 drops, and I think it was Gustafson and John Jones on the cover. So I remember playing that, and it was different. It was different because EA was mostly known for their boxing titles until they started to try to hand the UFC, and it was cool. You know what I'm saying, for the time being. So then some time goes on. We get UFC 2. UFC 2 comes out, and I remember I played I think it was the beta. It was the beta, and I think that they had online head-to-head for the beta, and it was Ultimate Team also. For Ultimate Team, you could have whatever fighter you want to put whatever you want on them because it was a beta. They just wanted to stress test it for the time being. And I remember playing it, and one of the things that stood out to me the most was just how great the ragdoll was. And you know what I'm saying? Like in UFC 2, UFC 1, if you look at UFC 1 knockouts, there wasn't a whole lot of ragdolls. It was always the same, animated falls, with little body morphing technology, I guess, whatever you want to call it. It wasn't free flowing. It wasn't physics enabled. But UFC 2 had great physics engine. Like it had a great physics engine. I remember seeing some of the fights where I would throw a duck and hook, and the guy would try to throw a shot, and I'll duck it at the same exact time, and I connect. You just see him just go limp. Like you just see him just hit the ground. That mirrored UFC from what I would see during the fights. I've seen guys do that. I've seen guys try to throw a hook and they get caught on the chin with a jab or a straight right hand, and they just go completely down, or they get caught with a kick, or something of that nature. You know what I mean? The physics knockdowns or knockouts were great. You know what I mean? That's what kept me coming back to UFC. Then, also I will say the combat wasn't that great. So as a result of that, UFC 3, they decided to expound upon the combat system and working on that and the footwork and all of that. Because the footwork wasn't that great on UFC 2. Let's keep it a bean. And the combat wasn't that great also. So in UFC 3, they decided to, make footwork a little bit more realistic, having foot planting and shit like that, and allowing people to go in and really methodically go in there, set up their shots. You can't throw 4 punches at a time or combine 4 shots at a time. They try to make it almost like a Mortal Kombat or a Tekken type of thing. That's at least what it feels like to me, with there being breaks in between the combos. So they did away with the physics engine whenever you knock somebody down. Then eventually they got enough feedback behind that, and they decided to bring it back. Tell you the truth, it didn't really hit the same like UFC 2, and I remember people talking about that a lot in UFC 3. So and mind you, each UFC I played 1, 2, 3, and which we're about to get to 4 in a second, but 3 was a step in the right direction, but y'all started making its way back. The ground game, especially in 1, it was mostly just like, it was like, I don't want to say it's a chess game, but it was mostly just like, either you had one of those fights where you waited for a guy to try to transition so you could block it, or if you tried to, spam transitions, however way you try to do it. And then, you have people going into 2, they try to fake the transitions or stuff like that. I don't know if you could do that in 2, I'm not sure. But, I found myself playing against guys where, we'll get on the ground, and if I'm on the bottom, he'll just wait for me to move just so he can have the momentum to just going right on ahead and go to side control or go to full mount or whatever. You have fights like that. If you landed somewhere that you stayed in that area unless you moved around during transitions, then that's the only way you can move around via transitions. That's the only way you can move around on the ground. In Undisputed 3, you could actually move your fighter around in different positions. Like, you can be in the full guard, right, from let's say top, right? You could be in full guard from the top, or I think bottom, if I'm not mistaken. But you can move around and make it to where you can move him to the cage and pin him to the point where he can't weave out the way of shots. He's pinned. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a methodical way of trying to get your ground and pound going, because you can either block, catch a shot, or a parry, whatever you want to call it, or you can sway your head out of the way to make a miss and tire him out so you can be able to transition or get up however you need to do. But in UFC Undisputed 3, you were able to move him, or you could move the fight around however you wanted to on the ground. You weren't stuck in one static position, and you could not only move unless you were doing a transition. You could move however you want. So if you felt the need to move the fight to the cage so he couldn't move like you wanted to, then by all means go ahead. But in EA's iteration of UFC, they didn't have that. You know what I'm saying? So going back to UFC 3 again, the combat, to me, this game has a very funny way of trying to get people to respect range, but at the same exact time, it's hit or miss. I can't tell you how many times where I fought a guy where he has a short range, right? Or he has a short reach on me, I'm sorry. And the fact he has a short reach, he has to travel a little farther to get to me, but I know I can get out of the way. And of course, they have the slip in, the weave in, the bobbing in, the weave, and you can slip shots or whatever, do whatever you needed to do. But sometimes, that was inconsistent within itself, because I might slip to a side and a hook might be coming in that direction, but some strange reason the game says that, oh no, you slipped to that side, he threw a hook, but here your hook was just a little off center. So that's considered a miss, you know what I mean? And then the guy could come up with a counter and knock me out or down, you know what I mean? Like I said, it was real hit or miss. If a guy threw a leg kick and I know I'm out of the way of it, the game wouldn't respect its actual movements in the way that he would move via the left stick. And if he's out of range on the leg kick, the game would slide him forward to make the leg kick land when he wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, they want you to respect range, or they say that they respect range, but it's too many times where you do something like that and the game will scoot you forward just so you can land it. I can't tell you how many times I know I was out of the way of a leg kick or like a headshot, whether it was a kick or a jab, hook, uppercut, whatever. I know I was out of the way of it, but I just saw the game slide him forward to make it land, and I got knocked out. Or vice versa. I've seen a guy be out of the way and the game just slid me forward to make it connect. Same thing in UFC 4. The only thing in UFC 4, they improved on the combat. It's still sometimes hit or miss. The ground game is still like, no, you move. No, you move. No, you move. No, I'm not gonna move unless you move. Type thing. You know what I mean? Then, you can fake the transitions and try to get them to, to commit to a side or something like that. They say it's a chess match, but they don't allow you a whole lot to do on the ground, and let alone when you stand up. Sometimes, the combat is really, really shaky. You know what I mean? And honestly, EA, I've tried to give you guys a chance to get it right with UFC. I tried to give it a chance, but it seems to me that you guys don't know what you're doing. And by all means, to any UFC fans out there, this video is not for you, so don't come in my comment section talking about you're just trash or this, that, and the third. I play UFC 2 extensively. I think they had like the belt system where it was like you could, like, if you level it up to all the way to level 50, you were like a black belt or something like that. Trust me, I played UFC 2 like extensively. Like, I played that almost till like the server shut down. Like, that's how serious I was about it. Servers might still be up now, but at that time I was taking it real seriously. Same thing UFC 3, same thing with UFC 4, but it's just, once you play a game for so much and you see how, something can be improved, or you see how people just try to like, cheat the system kind of sort of, it makes you look at the developers, and it makes you look at EA. It's just like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? What are you really doing with this franchise? You know what I'm saying? I don't care for another UFC. I really don't care. You know, it's bad enough that in UFC 2, the most remembered thing about UFC 2, like I said, was the knockdowns and how the ragdoll was. Not gonna lie, at times the ragdoll was real, you know, wonky at times, where you can land a cartwheel kick or something like that and a guy would just go flying. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it looked as stupid sometimes, but you know, that could be tweaked over time. You know, I said, just add more weight at the feet. You know what I'm saying? Don't have it to where these guys just go flying just because of the velocity of the kick. No, like, just put more weight in the feet or at the base, so when they do get hit with something, it looks more structured instead of just looking like a wacky ragdoll. You know what I mean? So, you know, with that being said, you know, as the iterations of UFC go on, you guys just know y'all love to take 2 steps forward and then 4 steps back, or 1 step forward and 3 steps back. However you want to put it. You guys, as in EA, you guys you don't know what you have. You know what I'm saying? You could do something great with UFC. You could really do something great, but the more and more I see each iteration of UFC, I just see you guys just dwindling away. Just chipping away, digging your own grave. Like, UFC Undisputed 3 will always and forever be the elite of UFC video games. That was the pinnacle of UFC video games. That was it. There was nothing else that could top that. You know what I'm saying? Now, given, of course, the generations of gaming, of course, you know, PS3 and 360, and then you got PS4 and Xbox One. Cool, you know, whatever. That argument is that argument. We all know that there's a graphical difference. Cool. But, you know, just imagine if THQ was still making UFC. Just imagine if that was still possible. And we're on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Series X. Like, just think about it. You know what I'm saying? So does this raise the age-old question that EA is afraid of competition? Who knows? Maybe the people over there over there at UFC, Dana White said that they don't want nobody else making one. We just want EA to make one. I don't know. However they decide to do it, but I just want you to know that honestly, EA Sports UFC just isn't it. You know, I gave this game a chance, but every time I do, you know, every time I do, I just see how short you guys come up each time. I see it. This franchise is going to kill UFC. Mark my words. If it's not on its way out, it's on its way out now. It's coming up real soon. UFC Undisputed 3 will forever and always be the pinnacle and the teaching tool of what a UFC game is supposed to be. Don't at me. If you want to argue somebody, argue with your pappy, because I said what I said. But yeah, man, hopefully you guys agree, man. Make sure to like button, comment, subscribe, share the word, spread the links, because you know how I do. But I'm going to get up out of here, man. It's your boy Jay Divine, and I'm signing out. Peace.